everybody, welcome to the first day of Season 3 of Contenders China. I'm your host, Gio. I'm joined on the desk today by Volumel and Scribe. It is the start of a new season. The reigning champion, Lucky Future Zenith, are no longer part of Contenders China, so we've got lots of changes going on this season. Scribe, LGD, they came second in Seasons 1 and 2, but they've now lost their tank line. How much of an effect is this going to have on them going forward in today's game?
I mean, it's definitely going to be a big factor here, especially with GOATs and especially being tank dominant and support dominant meta being the flavor of the month so far. It's going to mean that we're going to heavily rely on Tencho and Ink, well, formerly Ink, now Rookie, from ACP, new additions to his LGD squad. I'm very excited to see what they're able to bring. They definitely have that synergy from their previous team together, but it's all about integrating with the rest of this team. Gusha was an incredibly aggressive tank. I wonder if Tencho can match up to that aggression. He seemed like a much more passive player from what we saw last season, but at the same time, it's going to be heavily reliant on their ability to work together and make sure they can win this tank battle.
Volumel, since LGD came second in the last 2 seasons, do you think there's quite a pressure on them right now?
I think there's a massive pressure. This is a team that's kind of beloved in China. They're a team that is very prominent in other esports. They're kind of you could equate them to, at least from my understanding, you could equate them to like a Cloud9 in the West, where it's a known brand. They're loved. They're very successful in other esports, and they have been successful in Overwatch. So seeing them, make these changes and be that shuttle for talent into the Overwatch League, it proves their success. But this new roster, I've got my questions, and we're going to see some answers here against this new team and restart. News is more of a colloquial term because there are a lot of old school players coming back. A former member of the Shanghai Dragons team actually within restart. So it's going to be an interesting start to Season 3. But LGD definitely has some big shoes to fill.
When you mention they've got an ex-member of the Shanghai Dragons, we are talking about B612, who was previously known as Freefeel. Guys, Freefeel, or B612 rather, going to be going up against Only Wish, who is from the LGD squad. How do you think this sort of support matchup is going to play a role in this game?
You got to pick my 2 favorite support players ever in the history of Overwatch. I do have to say that I have been a little bit more impressed with Only Wish's play as of late. I have been pretty critical of him in the past within Season 2 and other content as well. But his Lucio play, I feel like, is definitely looks a little bit more comfortable for him in this kind of tank-favored metagame. So look for him to be displacing the Reinhardt or even juggling the Winston if possible. So I do think it's going to be a very prominent fixture in this meta, but it's I would say we'll just have to wait and see. Freefeel, again, has that owl experience. I want to see what happens when he gets thrown into Contenders. He might actually look really good.
Yeah, and I would just want to build off of that also. Experience is so important when it comes to calling these specific compositional synergies, especially in GOATs for GOATs, tank versus supports. It's gonna be so important to understand hey, we need to keep our ultimates, keep our resources available, use that to build a lead later in the game. It's not necessarily a meta about immediately winning, running over the other team. It's a lot about patience and consistency. That's where the experience really does come in, and it's gonna be super important to have this experience on our team, especially going into a brand new contender season where anything's going.
I mean, it's interesting because the kind of story here is all about experience. You have LGD, they're already an established team. They've had some changes, but you've got Restart, who they're a new team, but they have the experienced players. Ultimately, which flavor of experience is going to be the most important here?
I think it's going to be about Contenders' experience here, just because as much as experience is important, it's all about playing together. We talked about how important it is. You can't just build synergy out of nowhere, especially if it's a squad with a lot of players who haven't played with each other in the past. It's going to take some time to build that up, and that's where Restart really has to get it going, because this is a perfect opportunity to surprise LGD. LGD has not been looking nearly as strong as they were last season, but at the same time, it's a high bar to climb. I think it's going to be very difficult to upset what was the second best team in the region.
Definitely. We see their name in Restart, but they're actually a former team called Young Kaiser Gaming Red, who have been playing in some of the other Chinese cups, and they can't really restart their record as of right now. They don't look insane would be the word I would use. They're looking to kind of really build some momentum. They're looking to build morale, and if they can actually topple this kind of Chinese giant in LGD, this would be a great step forward going into the rest of their season. So Restarts is looking to restart their record and hopefully can build some of that momentum, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we could end up with a pretty big upset here, right?
Definitely, I would say so. If Restart wins, this would be quite the show.
So, okay, if you had to pick a specific player from either of these rosters who you're really going to be looking out for how effective they are in this game going forward, each of you, who would you pick?
I would put my sights on Rookie, actually the former HTP Inc. player. I mean, he was such a bright spot on the Hero Taciturn Panther roster last season. I want to see what he's able to bring because this is, like we said, an entire new tank line the LGD is running, and it would not be an exaggeration to say their tank line last year was exactly a big reason why Shy was able to get as much room as they can. They will also be missing Eileen realistically from the lineup, so that's another huge hitter that's out of their availability, out of their roster. So I'm very excited to see what he's able to bring here because he needs to be the difference maker if Shy can't step up.
I will say that I am leaning more towards LGD. I feel like when they do play tanks, when they are playing either this Winston goats or just normal Reinhardt goats, they do tend to play a little bit passive, and I feel like a lot of that is pressuring Rika on the Zarya, where he positions very, very passively, kind of away from his team a lot of the time, and doesn't really participate a lot in the damage role that he needs to be. So I'm looking for him to be a little bit more forward. I think during Land Story Cup that would kind of was their biggest issue, especially on maps like Busan and Dorado. They play a little bit too passively. While I like that defensive nature, I think that being able to beat that spearhead and pierce through the enemy team is probably a little bit more understandable for teams. So I think they're trying to outthink their opponent too much. I think they just need to, take it from the foundation up, calm down, relax, and let Rika kind of position a little bit more needs a position forward.
Well, you mentioned Busan in the Land Story Cup. Busan is actually new this season in our map pool. Do you think maybe some of the changes to the map pool that are coming in this season mean we're going to see some kind of different play styles, some different ways of going about things from these two teams, or any of the others for that matter?
I do wonder if we're going to see a ton of Reinhardt specifically. There are some maps in the map pool that do kind of align for it. Certain Lijiang maps definitely control center. We're seeing a little bit more tank play on night market specifically, but there could be a good mixture of play. I know Dorado, there's a ton of variance there. You see Pharah on attack, Pharah on defense, Widowmaker on attack, Widowmaker on defense. Like there's a good amount of parity there in terms of hero picks. So it's not necessarily super tank dominant, I would say, this in the hero pool or the map pool rather. But I would say I think teams are going to lean more on this kind of Winston Zarya Diva composition more often than not. I think they're going to run it quite a bit, but that's just kind of my prediction.
Yeah, and I would almost totally agree with you. I mean, that's kind of the big thing coming into the season, right? Reinhardt being, that obviously stable part of the GOAT's composition, allowing him to develop Earth Shatter if needed, as well as giving a great, essentially energy barrier, energy source for Zarya itself. But the Winston Diva combination pairing along with Zarya allows you to kind of engage on long range threats a little better, and that's going to be big, especially for playing against strong hit scan players, right? For example, if you want to contest Shy, you're not going to necessarily do it with Reinhardt. You're going to need to pull both tanks and Diva Winston to dive onto the back target, get Zarya that initial bubble to prevent initial damage if possible, to get them in safely. I think there's a lot of room that can be played, especially around Winston Diva, that you can't play around as Reinhardt.
One of the big things that we saw last season was this major discrepancy between Group A and Group B going into Contenders. Do you think the group placement of these two teams is going to have an effect on the outcome of what ends up happening with them? As we say, LGD, they've got this history, Restart, kind of brand new, but how much of what's going to happen is going to be affected by their group?
I think it's actually going to be pretty significant. It's kind of a weird placement, but Group A, I say just by merit of not having exactly the strongest returning Contenders team, as well as having a lot of unknown talent, I think Group A is, in quotations, easier. But Group B, this could easily, a loss here could be a big deal for LGD Gaming, especially if they cannot pick up matches against Flag Gaming or BTRG. This is a very intensive game that, yeah, it should be a very clean win for LGD, but if they lose this, they could be set up for a really bad rest of the season.
100%. Couldn't agree more. I think maps are really going to matter. Again, it's kind of a meme at this point, but every map matters in Group B.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see how this is going to go. This is going to be the first game of a brand new season, but for now, we're going to throw it over to our casters, Richrad and Blank, to take us through the first 2 maps.
Hello and welcome. Yes, I am Richrad, and I am with my amazing co-caster, Blank. Blank, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm very well. It's a sunny day in England, which is a surprise to say the least. It's a sunny day in Ilios as well as. Not sure which map we're going to start on yet, sub-map at least, but like the desk says, this is going to be an interesting game. LGD ending second for both Season 1 and Season 2. Now their roster's been a bit gutted here. They've lost some of their more crucial players, Gushue to be precise. We're not sure if Shy is playing there. I think I saw Rika on the roster instead. Let's have a look here. Yeah, we got Rika and Eternal playing, so there's no sign of Shy here. Even so, it's pretty inconsistent last season. So let's see what these guys can pull out at the moment. Restart. They're going to be playing this emotes composition that we've been seeing popping up all over the place. The Chinese team's been loving this. As you've seen a Landstar that was mentioned on the desk, it's sort of been played a lot. It's a composition that enables really aggressive play styles, which the Chinese teams, they seem to work really well. And it's the pressure that's going to be coming through. And these Discord ops onto the Winstons, they're going to be crucial.
And they're going to try and get some great aggression here in this tight position, trying to get a nice early pick. Manages to get Cloud quickly here with the Diva play in the back, getting some harass, having just, a few seconds until the control point does become active. You also see the other now going to get a quad kill total with the team here, as they're going to get some great pressure here by LGD.
LGD starting this really, really well. And I think this almost harkens back to Season 2 where Chinese teams didn't really know what to do with Brigitte. You see Cloud here going to mini room, get caught in the corner. Once he goes down, you lose that Inspire passive, you lose the shield bash. It's so easy for LGD to clean up. Now LGD is just staging themselves on the high ground. Quickly here, we do see Restart take this one back. So for the time being, Restart's are in a good position to engage on LGD when they want, but LGD looking very strong in terms of auto combat.
Yes, indeed. They've got 3 coming up here. It's going to be both support. Actually, it's going to be the Graviton along with the Rally going to be used here to give some major assistance with the self-destruct also in their back pocket. Transcendent's going to be forced now using it high overhead since they do have so many ultimates at their advantage, and going to keep also that Primal Rage. Aggression in the back, able to get a nice pick, though. They're going to get now the numbers advantage here for Restart against them, looking to now force that Primal Rage coming out by Wands. In the back, continuing to corral on this point. Both Primal Rages coming out to throw their enemy off this point. Still having 52% though when climbing. They're halfway there, managing to maintain it, and now the ultimates are going to start coming in favor of Restart since they do have the economy in their favor.
LGD still going this invest the sound barrier. It's been a very expensive fight them. On top of that, I believe actually MD ate Rika's Graviton there. So now LGD is starting to do something a little bit more desperate. They switch Rika over to the Doomfist. Simply going to switch him back now. But that's an impressive display from Restart. Everything performed perfectly to count out all of these ultimates coming out from LGD. Now they're looking a little bit shy when it comes to auto economy. They're going to be coming to the site with a Transcendence, but now that Restart's already used their Graviton, it's going to give them time to build that one up. And the moment, Secret's just going to have to hold on to this one.
And they're going to try and use that high ground position here, looking to engage with the Winston up front to make sure that they can get some early pick damage. Now the Transcendence going to be forced here. They do have the opportunity to press in the back line against Restart, hoping to try and get some early picks here, but having the difficulty, looking to dodge back just a little bit here. That high ground position, also having the self-destruct from both sides, LGD and Restart, waiting to see if they want to use those, as the Rally is going to come out actually by both sides, continuing to just utilize these support ultimates, withstanding it, along with the sound barrier. Now going to have that Graviton pull on the front coming in by Fengyan in there with the extra damage, looking to pick off 2, as it will be numbers advantage here, 6-4 in favor of Restart, and still managing to keep not only the Transcendence but the self-destruct as well, as they're looking to clean up and pick off those few stragglers by LGD.
Yeah, they retain a load of ultimates, like you say here, Rich. And I think the main thing is, Secret here, he uses the Transcendence early, hoping to build it up towards the next one to counter out Fengyan's grab as it comes through. Isn't able to build it up quick enough, and I think that was an overinvestment towards the beginning of that fight to give LGD that extra bit of aggressiveness to push through. So far, Fengyan's really been impressing me. Now they're coming into this, MD's got a self-destruct, more using for zoning here, but LGD, they've got all the tools available to them.
And now they're going to use that Graviton on the high ground, getting a nice early pick here onto Wands. Initial pressure as well coming out by Tankway on the point with that Primal Rage by LGD, looking to thrash them around. They need to turn this back. Overtime committed in this fight at 99%. A nice push off the edge onto the Brigitte, looking to continue getting more picks as they are going to manage to turn it around in this overtime, allowing LGD to now have the opportunity to claim this match.
And what was really crucial for them here is that LGD, they keep both the support ultimates in the reserves, which they'll really will need coming into the upcoming fights if they want to hold it 99 to 70%. Basically, everything has to go right for LGD here. They cannot have the grab eaten. They cannot fail when it comes to having this grab Diva Bomb combo come out from restart. Everything's got to go right.
And Cloud starting off with that rally, able to get some protection here as they look to try and penetrate onto this point. Graviton now also ready and hopefully going to be used here soon by Restart since they have it. Tucking it away in the corner, trying to get a few members into it, manages to do so as the aggression still comes out here by Winston on LGD, continuing to press forward, now starting to activate that Primal Rage on Wands, getting some nice kills here, looking to force the Transcendence, doesn't get the kill, but the Graviton in return, not yet seeing that Primal Rage as well. Getting some more assistance, 99 to 99 into the overtime. This is the last chance for Restart to try and switch it back, looking to take the advantage, and it will be a knockoff once again onto Cloud. That's the second time here they've managed to get that positioning so very close for Restart to turn it back around against them. But again, with this overtime already so extended, they are going to have only a matter of seconds to only be off this point. Self-destruct now going to get tucked under, not going to gain anything out of it. A nice move as well here onto Wands. Winston going to go out for Restart. Seconds left. That's going to be it, and it will be LGD claiming this first round.
They bring it back, Rich, and that's an impressive display there. Funyan gets a serious amount of pocket as Wands tries to take him down in that fight, but Cloud, he is really role-playing the Cloud here as he floats off the map multiple times in this game. I think Eternal's really been showing him up here. He's been playing much better on this Brigitte. His positioning has been very, very solid, and it means that LGD's backline is pretty much always safe due to Eternal's positioning and the way he makes sure he's ready to catch these dives coming from Restart. Now we come over to Ruins, and surprisingly we're not seeing any Widow here. We're seeing the same motes comp. I don't know what to say. This is strange, especially the Chinese region when they were so fixated on playing Widow last season. Now we're going to be seeing this once again, and I think the main thing to be watching out for is Cloud's positioning. Does he come further back towards his team, or does he stay really aggressive and get punished for it?
And they're both going to try and get some early aggression here on this high ground on the left positioning, seeing if they can get a nice early pick here coming on to Wang Q, able to take one down, but an even exchange now starting to go in favor of LGD as they manage to get the supports out of the way, back and forth.
Oh my
Still
God.
in favor of LGD. They are pulling together right now, dominating to get this opportunity to turn it over into their favor first.
I mean, who needs a Reinhardt on your team when you got a Brigitte like that? Eternal really showing up this game, man. He's really coming to his own on this Brigitte. It's incredible to see. Now, LGD, during that long-winded fight, they built some ultimates of their own. They probably, with the Transcendence or Restart, going to look to engage on him first. But Eternal once again!
A nice bash here on to Wands, just getting that early pick, giving the numbers advantage, looking for the Graviton as well, completely cleaning them off this point in a full retreat, looking to see if they can get the stagger as well, but that's going to be a dominant play here. And as you said, that stun onto Wands was critical by Eternal.
B612 here. He had the Transcendence, wasn't able to pull it out to counter out the Graviton, and now we're going to see another similar situation to Secret had. Does he use it early here, or does he hold on to it? 43% in climbing, things are starting to look dire for Restart, as LGD, they hold on to both the Primal Rage, they have the Diva Bomb. These are going to force out a lot of ultimates from Restart, but they will have this grab. It's been crucial before, will it be crucial again?
And there's going to be a lot of fireworks here as they do position on the high ground. There's the grab. Transcendence going to be forced as well, pulling almost the entire team of LGD on the point. And the self-destruct claiming to LGD Rookie, along with Wish getting the massive assistance here, taking out two. That is going to be now a still consistent pressure here by Restart. They've committed a lot of ultimates here, though. They only were able to maintain the Primal Range here on Wands. So now the advantage is going to be in LGD's favor with these 4 ultimate economy.
Yeah, they keep burning out the tank here, Rich. Soundbar invested early. But one thing that did happen there, interestingly, was that Rika used his projected on his self-fire a little bit odd there. Could have actually saved his team from the Diva Bomb, but immediately MD just gets crushed by the Graviton. This is going to be a quick and clean cleanup.
And again, they have the economy to use to their advantage, trying to get that late pick as well. They're going to keep this sound barrier along with the Primal Rage and going to have the Transcendence coming up. A nice late stagger here once again onto Wands, and they're going to have to wait for it. They're going to lose this opportunity and switching the point back over at 72% and climbing to 34 for Restart.
Playing a high consistent healing composition like this is very hard to move up the point. It's so dangerous letting them flip so easily like that. You want these long fights, and when things can be clean, now you don't have much of an ult economy to retake, and 10% in climbing, you got to do something drastic. So you need to see a big play come out from Restart here.
And they do have the Primal Rage at least available, having one, but they're going to have to be aggressive. 5% to go. Last chance for them to try and turn this back around as the ultimates are still bottling up. Brigitte keeping that pressure in the back here for Restart, but now having to go into the overtime. Seeing if they can get some opportunity with that Primal Rage going to be utilized here by Wands in the back, seeing if they can get that. Oh, but the stun once again here coming out by Eternal, forcing him high into the air. Energy now coming out as well by Rika, giving some pressure with the Graviton still in the holster, wanting to make sure that they find the opportunity to use it, and will use it on the Ram. Going to see if they can continue locking them down here on this high ground position, managing to clear them off, as this is the last chance they're not going to be able to maintain it. Going into the corner, will not be able to stay on it for the respawn, and LGD is going to claim this first match.
This is exactly what LGD wanted coming into this first game, was to have an impressive showing. And if this is anything indicative to how they're playing in the future, we can only imagine this is going to go really well for LGD. Restart, they've had some the interaction between both the Diva and the Winston. I think at times the projected barrier is a little bit lackluster here coming out from Restart. But Eternal, man, this guy has played incredibly well around his support line, around his tank line. And one thing you love to see is during that fight all the way to the courtyard towards Resport spawn, is that even though he had a clear kill onto the enemy Winston, he instead prefers to go back, support his tank line, support his front line. And this is exactly what you want out of a Brigitte.
And just the awareness is very high. It is that spatial awareness, knowing where your team positioning is and being able to communicate that effectively as the group itself. That's going to allow them a lot of opportunity. And again, since I know that we, had on the desk a couple times suggest that, with this team composition having that background and their history, even though there has been some, alteration in their tank line and things like that, they are still responding effectively as a team and working very cohesively.
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think what we were worried about is the tank line might be lacking here. But it seems everyone's completely started to show up on the side of LGD. Like now that Gushue is gone, other people are starting to take this more aggressive role. And even more so, they're forcing themselves into something that I didn't expect to see, which is this moats composition, which integrates the Winston instead of the Reinhardt. It just creates so much pressure on the enemy team. They're struggling to deal with it. But I mean, we thought the tank line would be bad. We've been proved wrong. LGD has shown it today. Again, this is versus Restart, and like the desk says, it's a relatively new team. There are some old players here, but again, they don't have the same combat. Like, I don't know how to put it.
It's
I guess
kind of like conditioning, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's like a good way of like kind of breaking it down. I agree. Like they're not conditioned yet as a team to, really have that like responsiveness and action to maybe respond as effectively as LGD has been able to, that we saw here. I mean, especially on, Ruins right at the end of it, they were able to, even though they had a very tight switch there in percentage, they were, 100 to 99, they were more close, but after getting into it, starting to evaluate, Restart, they were able to capitalize on that. And again, as you said, Eternal just killing it right now on the support.
Killing it indeed. Anyway, I think we will throw over to a break here, and we got a timer on the clock clicking down, so we'll catch you in a little bit, guys. Don't go anywhere. We got more matches for you today.
Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you.
Hello and welcome back. And again, as we just took that few-minute break, me and Blank were able to kind of discuss a little bit about what was happening again, since we did see a massive amount of play here coming out by Eternal and just some of the breakdown from Restart and LGD. And, we were also talking about just some of the communication aspect that Restart was having. Blank, kind of, elaborate a little bit further on that about how the extension happened where Winston, Wands was getting so aggressive into the back line and not really able to gain the support and assistance by their entire team behind him. It's a little bit maybe lack of communication, I feel.
Yeah, maybe there is a bit of miscommunication here. I mean, he is one of the two players on the team that are Korean on pretty much an all Chinese roster. It's a very minor thing, but when he's jumping in the front like that, he's finding some work. Definitely, his primal rages are up there, but I don't think he's getting enough support from MD a lot of times. You see him going off to do weird things, whereas on LGD, the Diva comes out and immediately comes back to support the Winston at all times. You get the body blocks coming through, and this is something we saw a lot last season with Yashi, with Gushua, is that interaction between the Diva and the Winston really enabled Gushua to perform in such a way, and now we've got pretty much the same thing, but two different players. So it's really nice to see LGD basically keeping some of their identity. I think Wands could do better with a little bit more backup. But there are a lot of fights there. Specifically, let's go back to Ilios Ruins. When they try to fight LGD towards their Mega, they get into a small room. They lose a big character for them early, which is the Lucio. They don't get an amp it up, and the Discord orbs are still there. And Eternal's just very happy to clean up there, because you're only getting 16 HPS out from the Brigida on top of a 30 HPS from the orb. It's not enough healing to keep them all alive. And with Winston doing about 360 damage damage per second to rate all 6 heroes on the enemy team with that Tesla cannon. People are going to die very quickly, and it was just up to Eternal to clean up. I think he did a great job to come in where he did. And we were discussing where we were, right? It's just the positional advantage that he has.
Very much. I mean, and again, you saw it, like we were kind of at least briefly touching on prior to that. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about Eternal being very responsive to the team's positioning, but again, like everybody on the team of LGD is just able to really again communicate effectively of knowing where their positioning is. They're aware of one another. They're able to work cohesively, allowing them to maintain those types of dives or positioning as a whole here. And as we now get into this next one, which is going to be the hybrid map, and we are going to be on Numbani. So going into this, what do you think LGD is going to do to maintain this dominance, and how do you think Restart is going to potentially alter their composition here going into this?
So Numbani it's a tough map at the moment. There are so many angles you can hold on it, and with new compositions which increase the amount of healing that you get all times, it's so hard to push onto this point. The avenues that you can take through main, through underneath, and all the way through left side are very predictable, and they give the defending team a lot of time to deal with. So I imagine this is Restart's pick. We'll probably see them on defense here as they lost the last map. But really, as long as we can see this same aggression coming out from LGD with that pinpoint accuracy, they should be okay. But we're more going to see dive in this situation, as we do see LGD actually on defense first, which is kind of surprising to me.
You're very right. And again, with, again, that dive composition, we do see, LGD coming out here on that defensive position. You have Rika again coming onto that Doomfist, who is looking to harass in the back with the Sombra combination. So, I mean, we do see that a lot to try and contest against, the GOATS composition, that 3-3 dive, deathball, composition coming out. But I'm curious to see with how Restart is going to, penetrate onto this point, how effective that's going to be.
I mean, for Restart, it's just a matter of time, because LGD Gaming, they're not running with any defensive support ultimates. They're very much aggressive. The best bet they can have here is, as the dive comes in, Eternal's going to have to hold onto the EMP and use that to dissuade the push. Already, Restart taking a proactive positioning on the high ground. Out comes the Barrier Grenade, and they will be forced back.
And Cloud getting so very low, immediately forcing them out. Oh, and that's going to be MMD getting D-Mexed. That is a definite loss here on this front line. See if they can get back into this with the mech. Maybe. There was going to say, there it is. Yeah, MMD going to get taken down, forcing that fall back and looking to regroup here. And they really are going to have to be careful, too, because the aggression is coming out now by LGD.
Man, the front line is just keeping track of them at all times, so they can't just do what they want. Eternal does have to back out. 55% and climbing towards this next EMP, so he is quite near to it. Will have it for the next push, but as long as he's staying on top of it in terms of Cloud's generation towards his Dragon Blade, they should be okay. The big thing for me now is Secret's coming up towards his Nano Boost, which he'll probably go into Tank Shield, but Eternal, very low here, escapes with just a sliver of HP.
And it's again, just those supports being on top of it to give it. But now Juan's going to get picked off here on the Winston for Restart. Again, they're going to have to fall back, and they are allowing them to run a lot of time right now. But we do have Wong Q getting that res off here onto Juan's. Just getting that full 6 back alive. You see Clouds now getting that Dragon Blade, but gonna get picked off in the back, as now you will also see both supports getting taken out, and this is gonna be another dominant press from LGD, and they didn't even have to sacrifice truly any ultimates here as they generated them. You saw Eternal pop the EMP to gain that opportunity, and now they're sitting with, again, 4 ultimate economy against potentially gonna be the same amount, 4, potentially 5 here for Restart.
Restart coming on pretty much 6. LGD, I like what they did. They used the EMP to charge up basically all of their other ultimates. It's a very clean fight coming out for them. Secret's about 56%. Kind of needs the Nano Boost in this next fight to dissuade the Genji Blade. But that's what worries me the most. It's going to be up to this front line to really push him back. And out it comes. There is nothing on top of it, but finds Secret immediately.
And that's a double kill coming out by Cloud with that Dragon Blade. Gonna get an immediate res as well by Restart. Seeing if they can maintain the numbers here. Also, Reese having another res as well, coming out for the team of LGD with a Meteor Strike onto Cloud. Also going to get that pick here with the Primal Rage, keeping so much pressure. Now going to fall back. Still a lot of pressure, though, by LGD to force them away. They utilize so many ultimates on this defensive position here that now Restart has the advantage with this ultimate economy, but still, Eternal has that EMP coming up along with the Nano Boost.
Which is what we saw last time, right? We just whack the nano boost on Rika, get the EMP out, and they clean up easily from there. We'll see how clean it is this time without a pick, but it looks like they're going to have a very early EMP as they come through the gate. And with Zenyatta on the team, he stays out the way so he can potentially come back in.
And now the aggression comes out in the back line by Rika on the Doofus. LGD doing a great job now gaining the Meteor Strike, seeing if they can land a few. Self-destruct also going to come out, though, by MMD. Getting the D-Mech very low in the back. Going to get back quickly into that mech to maintain it. Nobody going to pick them off quickly as they're still maintaining a decent amount of pressure. But they're starting to get a little spread out now. They're on the high ground, trying to maintain it here. LGD getting assaulted once again by Cloud, looking for those support picks and getting a quick dash through the sky, but not gaining anything. And now LGD just getting those picks again on both supports, leaving only one remaining. B612 having to retreat
cannot be
and get
staggered
the
here.
off. No, they can't.
B612 goes down, and this is the last fight. What really should have happened then, Restart should have immediately backed off. They were banking everything on Cloud's blade. LGD Gaming were looking fairly poor when it came to ults, but now they have to go back in. WinWinQ desperately tries to touch the point, and Cloud just got his blade out looking for kills, but the seismic slam is huge.
And that's going to be time run out on a full hold for Numbani on the defensive position here by LGD.
And this is what I'm talking about. It's so hard to push into Numbani. It's very predictable where you're going to go, and you can get such huge EMPs of. All credit to B612 for him to hide away from that EMP. Didn't really mean anything, though, because he didn't have the Transcendence, so at best he gets to apply an Orb of Harmony, a Discord Orb, but it's not going to do too much when a Doomfist is coming down to really ruin your day. What we should have seen more, though, was maybe Brigida picked up. WinWinQ can't do a massive deal on Mercy with 50 HPS to keep that Zenyatta alive, and needs to be more in the front line. Now Restart, they switch up to something similar that LGD were using, but LGD, it just seems like they understand this meta a lot more as they switch into this heavy dive composition, which basically just banks everything on getting the Nano Blade with the EMP on top. A nice little bit of a hack and slash, and if they can perform that correctly, Restart shouldn't really have anywhere to go from.
And as you said, since they are able to try and, utilize that type of combination using the Sombra, using the Doomfist on Restart, I'm curious to see if LGD is going to be in a real great comfort zone, because that's exactly what they were using, and they still have Eternal on the Sombra right now, so they know how this plays. They played it so well on the defensive side that now on the aggressive side, when they see it coming out, that they're going to have to, be, again, very careful here and see if they're going to be outplayed on the side of Restart for the defensive position.
LGD actually makes some switches up over to this month's composition, so they want to be favoring more pressure here. Tunyon is going to find a lot of value out of these EMPs, though, which will pretty much devastate this composition, completely stopping it in its tracks. So Lucio will be able to get the speed boost out, but they go underneath almost immediately. Spot out the Sombra early, and now they're on the point, forcing Restart to come to them.
And they get a nice pick here on to Cloud. LGD doing a great job, already having the numbers advantage, still keeping a lot of pressure as well. Rika getting that huge amount of damage here up front, not having too much energy charge, but they do get the assistance by Eternal, getting the D-Mech and forcing that Diva player MMD off the point. And they are just cleaning it up. They're about to get the tick, and they managed to do so swiftly, reaching a victory here on Numbani. LGD just demonstrating their dominant force right now.
LGD are just incredibly strong right now. The Zenyatta finding the pick off and the Doomfist was just massive. You don't really go from there. You were banking on that pick, right, Rich?
Yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, and again, you almost just see like this, I guess this just scatteredness coming out by Restart, and they just immediately were able to snowball onto the point, maximizing that early pick onto the Doomfist, taking them out of the fight immediately, not going to have any real harass. And once that initial person went down, that was it. They were, it was like a domino effect. They were able to dominate so quickly on that point. And regardless of them maintaining that high ground position on the left-hand side from the defensive side, they couldn't do anything with it.
As again, I'm so impressed by the Winston here, because as we come into that, Tanchio drops down the bubble, which completely blocks off the high ground members, and the entirety of LGD can hide in there, which forces them to drop down the high ground because they cannot give up one tick in that situation. Otherwise, it's all over. They come into Eternal's range. He takes down the Diva, splits her off from the enemy team, and now it's just a Tanchio to force these supports off the high ground, which he does. Sure, he gets slept in the process, but he's already applied the pressure. They've had to drop, and it's just easy peasy for him.
And I mean, even too, like, with Rika on that Doomfist, just consistent play here that we've seen. And, you saw, again, like that little bit of usage of the Dragon Blade to gain some out of it coming in by Restart.
That was such
but
a
they
nice
didn't,
slash, though.
It was, but they just weren't able to get any additional, like, maximization out of that push. They got that quick double kill with it, but really couldn't just get too much more out of that. And at that point, I mean, they were just beginning to get overwhelmed, and they couldn't put their feet on the ground and just become like level at the moment. But with us going into this, we will go ahead and throw it back to our desk for the analyst and host to take a moment and just discuss, what a dominant play that we saw by LGD.
Guys, we were a bit nervous. Let's be honest, we were a bit nervous that the changes to LGD meant that, we weren't quite sure what was going to come out, but we have seen such a dominant, confident, disciplined performance. How have they managed to achieve this?
Defensive discipline. I mean, look at map one. We talk about support ultimates being so impactful, especially in keeping teams alive, driving fights, right, allowing yourself to come back into a fight very late if you have the additional health. They managed, especially Only Wish on the Lucio, keeping his ultimate throughout the entire fight, on Lighthouse, making sure these teams able to stay alive through the graviton and then coming out of the graviton, right, properly staggering your transcendence with your sound barrier. Great training there. But one thing I want to point out, Numbani high ground. I mean, imagine the confidence you have to not back off of the high ground, knowing that, hey, we can heavily depend on Rika, we can heavily depend on Eternal to make sure that they can't get around that corner and attack us. That confidence is so important, because not giving up the high ground means it's very hard to push in, and especially if the enemy team, in this case Restart, did not really feel comfortable going immediately onto point, whether or not that's a technical or a strategical decision. That was a big change there.
The kind of theme I'm taking away from our first half of the season is anything you can do, I can. LGD ran this high ground Doomfist Sombra composition. They took these early fights. Didn't have a lot of appeal for the backline. If you remember, they were running Ana Mercy. Not a ton of defensive abilities to kind of dissuade dives from coming in. Whereas Restart also ran that on defense, but didn't quite find those early picks. Same thing with this Winston Ghost composition. Restart are looking for very direct engages with the Winston. They're investing the bubble, they're investing the leap, they're investing the Zarya, friendly onto these aggressive pushes. It's very straightforward, and it's something that LGD has shown to be quite confident in dealing with. Now, I still have, my reservations. I'm still a little cold feet. Who's even on this roster? Is Shy? I have no idea. But I want to see them tested a little bit more. It seems like LGD are very confident, like what Scribe said. They're very confident coming into this match. Again, Restart hasn't had the best track record so far. Again, they're kind of building momentum. This is a big building season for China. But I want to see LGD tested a little bit more. I'm happy that they're passing this crucible, but what happens when they play a team like T1W? What happens when they play a team like Team CC? I think that this could be a little bit different.
I mean, I agree. It is maybe a bit early to say, but we're definitely getting some kind of a taste of what we should be expecting in the future. But, what have Restart been doing particularly wrong? What do they need to improve on going into maps 3 and 4? LGD were able to full hold in Numbani, and that's not what we want to be seeing. Well, it's not what Restart want to be seeing for their own games going forward.
Most definitely.
Yes, right. Yeah, I think Restart in some ways is kind of like locked into it. You mentioned, I think when we were talking about this, you talked about how they're very day one. I think this is a large part about not being able to adapt on the fly. I think as a relatively new team, they're coming in with like one strategy, and they're saying like, let's try to take high ground. Let's try to take these objectives. Let's try to bring our Winston in first, try to get that initial dive off. But they're not thinking about what happens if this doesn't work correctly? And I think that's the part that's limiting them, is that when they're getting hit by Doomfist Sombra, and in that transition period with all this chaos going on, they lose a lot of their synergy. They lose a lot of what I think they practice together, and they're falling apart because of it.
I completely agree with you there. Again, when we looked at Ilios, we saw Rika making these kind of on-the-fly switches that you had pointed out. It does seem like LGD are just kind of that one slight step ahead of them. They're that kind of, knight to e5, just quick movement. Again, speed boosting out of the point. They just immediately said, oh, you're holding high ground like we were? No, we're not going to play that game. We're just going to go straight onto the point, and you're going to have to come fight us. We're putting the priority onto you to come fight us.
It sounds a lot like LGD have been setting the pace here. Restart have just got to catch up.
Exactly.
Well, two players that you guys mentioned at the start were Rookie and Rika. Very quickly, have they been living up to your expectations? Are you excited to see them going into the second half of this game?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, Rookie hasn't needed to look that good, but Rika has looked amazing so far.
Yeah.
So he's not bad as a third DPS option,
Well, I guess we will see what they look like going into maps 3 and 4, developing somewhat of a unanimous opinion as to what is going to happen. But hopefully Restart can shake things a bit up going into our Assault map, which is next. But for now, we're going to send it to our casters, Richrad and Blank, to take us through it.
Thank you again. As all three of you had been saying, that just lack of responsiveness in Restart is really causing a lot of problems for them. They're not opting to go into a different composition, and I mean I would think that Blank, you're on the same boat there with us, trying to see hopefully that they're going to try and adjust something here, since they've already seen that this type of tactic hasn't worked.
Yeah, I mean, you go for that bold play with the Doomfist on Numbani, you don't find much out of it. I think if Restart are going to find anything, they need to start investing more resources into singular plays to make sure they do win these fights. I think it's very clear to see at this point that LGD are outclassing them in most ways. So if they can outposition, give them a bit more respect when it comes to taking down targets individually, maybe they can win that way. Just so far, it doesn't feel like they have the greatest of understandings of the small moving parts of these compositions that LGD might be playing, and they're trying to play now. Again, like the devs say, this is a relatively new team. They're just coming together. They're still gelling. They've not quite got it all. And in a meta that's so dominated by these very, very intricate compositions like Goats, where to us it looks like two tanks compositions just like bashing their heads at each other. But there's a lot of little things going in the process. Barriers have to be crucial. Shield timing is there. Brigaders have to play in a whole different way to how they'd normally play on any different composition. So it's very interesting to see. I think this is like Volamel says on the desk, a crucible not only for LGD but for Restart, to restart their brand, to restart this team and really get it going in this season of Contenders. Like, it's only week 1, guys, so give them some credit.
I mean, and again, yes, and they do have, with it being week 1, coming out the gate here, trying to contest against, LGD, who is demonstrating their ability to have just effective gameplay. They're really going to have to try and, with this, moment of break, to really start to reevaluate, to have, some communication time to be like, look, guys, like, these are the things that we're doing. Let's try and just, take a moment, settle ourselves down, understand what they're looking to do right now as we move forward. And we've seen such a dominant play, as the desk had said as well with the analysts and hosts, that they were really looking at bringing the fight to Restart to force their hand almost. It's like you're trying to give that aggression to be like, all right, we're Restart. We have to respond to this. We have to do something right now. And then they no longer have any control of it. And at that point, they're just going to have to fend for themselves.
And it's very difficult for us to analyze that in a big way, because I think LGD at this point understand they are a better mechanical team, right? So they are just they are, like you said, forcing their hand. They're making them come to them because they know they can outplay them in these close quarters fight, in these little gritty skirmishes that go on top of the point. Now we do have our next map. It will be Horizon Lunar Colony. Oh, is a favored face here, has been changed a little bit. There are some new additions, especially with the stairs on the backside to allow those more slower, less vertical heroes to make it to the high ground by themselves. So I'll be interested to see what these teams pull out here, because it seems that in Season 3 of Contenders, things are really shaking up at the moment, Rich.
Definitely, and you do see again that Orisa, and we see that typically, you know, on this defensive side. It gives that nice position on the catwalk on the high ground, able to give some great coverage for, you know, the Junkrat, the 76, just because of that hit scan in the back line, and having that adjustment too, and those little bit of tweaks to, you know, the Orisa and the 76, that's also going to give them a little bit, I think, of an upper hand here with that composition coming out here by LGD.
You know, I mean, the main problem I'm seeing here is that there is a massive amount of shielding. This Diva Matrix here might make it a little bit hard for Ricket to find himself through the shield. You might see him switch off to a Doomfist later on, but so far it's going to be this Riptide that needs to be built up very quickly. When will LGD drop? That is the question. You probably see Rookie here drop down to the point to contest a little bit, but already you see Tankchu on the point.
And Eternal already almost at that Riptire, so rapid fast. They are going to get that pick early onto Wands, taking out that Reinhardt with that heavy shield on the front, looking to still maintain this high ground. Eternal's getting a lot of damage, having the Riptire, and is going to unleash it, trying to see if they can find that pick in the back line again, just to get a stagger. Will get it, and now you see Restart just being completely severed in the back position here, getting picked off one by one. A late stagger again, gonna buy some time here, even though they are just trying to survive through it, but that's a solid reset here for Restart, and LGD just dominating right now, going in with 2 ultimates for this next fight.
And they didn't really have to use much there. They have 2 ultimates, they've got the Riptide, but what stands to be more is the smart target selection comes down from. They get rid of the Reinhardt first, which means that Restart lose that ability to take space, and then the Riptide, quite specifically, I think, goes for a win-win Q there, which means they no longer have this ability to disengage, and what they wanted to do was stick on that point B side, wait for their Reinhardt to come back and re-engage, but they don't have the Lucio with the speed boost, so they can't do that whatsoever. LGD Gaming doing a really good job of positioning. They're moving up this other side, keeping an arm's length away from this team on Restart. B612 will have the coalescence, but that's a huge concussion.
And that's going to allow him to get another Riptire, looking for another stagger, getting a double kill. Triple in total with the Riptire. Now they're going to drop down, looking to capitalize on this. All that's remaining is going to be the last few members of Restart, and they're going to have to, again, go to the drawing board. And they've lost so much time here. Already 2 minutes, and going into this, going to have at least the 2 support ultimates, potentially the 3rd if they can buy some time here. But they're having a real tough time going into this.
Restart, this is the fight for them now. They've been getting around about 25-30% of ult charge in both of these fights that's just gone down. They have wasted a lot of time, sure, but in this fight, this is the time to go. There's not going to be much. There will be a rally making it very difficult for Restart to move them forward. So you can see that LGD want to take this fight very quickly. They need that Riptire though. Restart coming in this one. Rally pops already. Now they're going to be coming into this one. They look like they're coming up the stairs, so they want to push them off this high ground.
Seeing if they can get that position. You do see the aggression coming out on the front line by Wands, using that shield to give a lot of protection, dropping down to the low ground. Here's the Graviton. Will they be able to use it on the front here for Restart to hopefully pick them off? They're starting to now have the advantage, pressuring them away, but they're not out of it yet. LGD starting to switch back on. There's the Riptire that they needed, looking to get the backline, but does get taken out by the Fire Strike by Wands. Now the Earth Shatter gaining 2 with the self-destruct gaining double. Oh goodness, and this is might be the momentum that they need to start turning this back. Restart still in the fight though, trying to see if they can survive through it. LGD keeping that Orisa on the point, just mitigating a lot of incoming damage, and that 100% Zarya energy just melting with the assistance by B612, just maintaining it, and now they're able to capture point A and gonna try and use this momentum. They have at least Cloud coming up soon with the rally, and they might have the momentum to do it, even though LGD has the 2 ultimates available for this pressure.
This Riptire is definitely going to have to find a target on Restart should they want to push them back. So Eternal's just set himself in a good position where he can do it. They're already on the point. Rookie's going to look to contest this early, but already Eternal quite low.
And that nice damage coming out from the high ground. There's the Riptire. Oh, they almost got the pick before it was completed. Looking to get behind the shield. Does go down. Oh, it will be one. Wands getting picked off just in range of that Riptire. Now Rika continuing to apply pressure on the front, looking to get that Graviton for this, and they're starting to clean up, getting pick after pick on Restart. They're going to have to fall back. There is no way that they can manage to do this. They were close to reaching that first tick, though, so that was at least something, but that would have been much more beneficial for them. They at least getting one with Wands now, going to switch onto the Winston.
It's a fairly decent fight considering they didn't really have any ultimates, and LGD Gaming were forced to invest a lot there. What interested me the most though is that the Moira on restart were constantly sending damage levels up towards Eternal, knowing that no one was healing, really causing a ruckus up there. Rookie already taking damage, does have a Harmony on the Winston, so he's a little bit more tough, so one's still alive. There is a Transcendence available, and out comes the Graviton.
Pulling a few members into it, seeing if they can get the follow-up. There is a clean coverage for LGD with that Graviton, and again, they're looking to now just reset and try and generate some ults here. They're going to have that Graviton of their own for restart, hoping to have that self-destruct as well with the sound barrier. At least having one support is going to be critical for them to go into this fight.
This is they will need this one support. They know that Fungyang's going to be coming up from the Graviton. They will have the Transcendence to counter it out. They don't have much else though, so they're able to basically Rika to stay high charge because he's going to have to be the one doing the DPS here. Graviton comes in and they pick out Rika almost immediately. That's going to be really tough for LGD. Only Wish was in no sight to get that Transcendence off.
Not at all. You saw that usage on just the independent player gaining a lot of value, but now the sound barrier is going to come out by restart, seeing if they can give some protection with the incoming damage. Going to hold on to the self-destruct until they feel value with it, and they do get a nice pick here onto Tang Kuo. It's going to be some still assisted pressure in the back. Cloud harassing, using that Brigitte to try and maintain pressure as they do manage to gain one tick. Self-destruct for zoning, looking to gain the second tick, wanting to try and contest. The respawn advantage is an LGD, though. They're not out of it yet with a lot of charger coming out by Rika, looking to get the Graviton. Will they use it? Managing to do so, pulling in a few, and this might be the opportunity for them to turn it around, and the Transcendence was forced as well. B612 not able to gain too much out of it, having to force the retreat. They've got 2 ticks, just under 2 minutes to go, as they are in a good position to cycle back into this fight and try and take this last point.
Still, LGD are holding pretty strong, and what a mantle Graviton that was. The flick came out onto ones there, understanding that B612 was just a little bit out of position to get that Transcendence off, and they burst him almost immediately with the help of Discord Orb and Only Wish. So a very smart play to counter out B612's Transcendence whilst he was out of position. Now LGD, they will have the Nana boost as well as this Winston ultimate, so that's going to be good for creating space, but already wants to take down Secret, but Eternal, he's in the way once again.
And they're going to try and find value out of it, but getting very, very low on all fronts, with all tanks finally getting a pick here onto Fang Yan, and they do get the follow-up here. Now going to have that assistance with the rally and the sound barrier, but so much is being done right now that LGD is just once again forcing them back. It's allowing them to get some dry momentum here onto this aggression to hopefully bank a few of those support ultimates, and they're hoping to get this third one because they're going to need it for this last opportunity to try and claim point B.
At best, this is going to be a long fight for restart, but Rika, he holds onto the Graviton here rather than using it mid that fight, so it's going to be really good for them. So if the fight continues on for too long, he can invest the Graviton and make this a clean fight. B612 will have the Transcendence soon, so they might have to go for a very aggressive Graviton instead.
And you see that high ground position coming out by Rika. Is he going to use the Graviton on the front line? Going to hold on to it as they do get pressed from the rear. Now managing to pull in 3, but the sound barrier does come out. Wong able to get that. Whoa, the follow-up though with the self-destruct to completely shut them down. Switching on to the Reaper to see if that can benefit them. Able to at least get down the Winston on LGD, but the damage is already done. Having the last opportunity to try and maintain it. It will be the Transcendence. Only one remaining Reaper on the point. Overtime finally going to tick away. Will they be able to reach it? But with that amount of time, only going to be the Wrecking Ball. Switching onto it, finally shredding away on that time bank as they are just looking to stagger once again, reaching 88.5% into point B on Horizon Lunar Colony.
It's a really smart and well-timed shield bash coming out from Eternal there, knowing that really what wants to happen is Fangmian wants to go for this very, very clutch shielding and ally shield onto his teammates to keep him alive from the Diva Bomb. But just before the bomb goes off, the shield bash comes through, both the bubbles are negated, and they go down after that. So just really, really good team play come out from LGD so far. And I think the main person to give credit to, though, especially on point A, is Tanchio. The way that he creates space and understands how space is used is incredible, because you see him backing up, you see him using the fortified to keep his team safe. Unfortunately, he did move a little bit too far forward, and that's on restart got the shadow through him, which took down his backline. All in all, LGD, I think, are playing very, very well. And Volumel, he highlighted Only Wish on the desk, and should definitely some of the highlight. Plays the Brigitte very well, and it's just this solid support that basically stays alive most fights, and it's just this a massive pillar of the team that they can always rely on.
And as we kind of take a look at it too, you are going to see Restart looking to opt for the same composition similarly with the Orisa and the Junkrat. We saw Eternal using so much damage in these tight corridors, able to generate a number of Riptires on this defensive side. They're hoping to do the same thing here, but they're going to opt a little bit of a different change though. They're not going to use that 76 with the hit scan, and they're going to bring in the Hanzo to see if they can maybe optimize that a little better with that second DPS.
How are you really doing this on the attack? There's no changes coming through as of yet, so we will be running out with triple DPS here. This is an incredibly aggressive composition, using the D.Va and the Hammond, and making sure that only wishes on the Mercy so he can follow up on the dive here. This will pretty much make the shield redundant, because they're just going to completely circumvent it.
Seeing Secret now in the back on that Tracer. Haven't seen it too much here
Sneaky.
recently. These plays now going to get some nice engage in the back, and there's an early pick here on to Feng Yan on the Hanzo, getting that early numbers advantage. Once again, LGD having that 6 versus 5, trying to get some aggression in the back, and again, it will be Rika getting a massive amount of damage in the back line, still surviving through it with the Doomfist, and it's going to be now already one tick going for the second. They're just allowing them to take it right now with already just a minute into this. They've gained 2 and trying to get the third. Seeing if we can get that regroup though as a full 6 for Restart to try and turn it back around. The Meteor Strike coming up. Here's the kill onto ones as they're gonna now get that backline pressure on the Ana, taking down B612, and they are just really working this point right now, gaining a quick 2, looking for the third as they clean up. Staggers coming in, and they're not gonna be able to do too much more here.
Rika is a charm to watch on this Doomfist so far. He's been finding some really amazing picks, and the pick onto the Hanzo was really, really big, because you've got D.Va, you've got Hammond, both of them don't have a shield in front to negate the Storm Arrows, which could completely crush them. Unfortunately, Rika does get slept. Does he make it out? That's Doomfist for you guys, unfortunately. Doesn't matter what situation, you still make it out regardless. Riptide is now invested.
Oh no, and it's gonna be picked off in the back. Secret able to get enough damage onto it just before gaining any value out of it, as they're still gonna now have that EMP coming out by LGD, looking to try and pressure here on this point, seeing if they can start to turn it around, and they have a number of members already on there, and there it is again. Rika getting those 2 supports with the assistance on the D-Mech. MMD losing his mind right now as he's gonna get taken out by Rika with that Meteor Strike just to hold them back before they can come out of their spawn. Still aggressing at the back line, just causing so much mayhem against this team, as they are not going to gain any value out of this respawn advantage. Getting picked off one after another, the space being given also as well by the Winston player for LGD, just continuing to maximize on this point, but they're looking to run the clock now. They're starting to get that advantage. They're hoping to get those picks, but they still maintain it. A double kill. One of them is going to be the D-Mech here for Eternal. Pulse Bomb to keep it going as they just one after another stagger this team of Restart, and LGD once again just forcing the hand of Restart.
That is such a treat to watch. Oh my god, that's I can't believe what I just witnessed. They're running mono healer rich. Yeah, all of them stay alive, all of them stay healthy. And the way it works, they just cycle out the traits, they cycle out the Doomfist. They played that so incredibly well. You just had one person on the point at all times, whereas you had these 2 assassins, then you had the EMP also available. Finally, someone in China makes triple DPS work, right? We saw it in season 2, didn't work too well, but that was very, very well played. I'm not sure how it would fare against a team like T1W, but Restart, they just did not have the team play there available. What you probably want to see is more of a tanky comp, and they maybe give up a couple of ticks and they come out together to make sure that Doomfist can't find those quick and easy picks onto Moiras, onto all sorts. He was crushing everyone.
I mean, and also just to kind of elaborate further, like you said, you know, that triple DPS composition, I mean, they're really keeping Restart on their toes. Like, they're bringing things to them that they've already done 2 maps now where they were starting to utilize that, you know, dominant composition coming out by LGD, and then they're going to switch to this, and it's really a curveball, I feel, for Restart. Like, if they were to start coming back into this, and then they're like, what is this that's coming at us? Like, how do we respond to this?
What's going on now?
Yeah, and it's like, that's what we saw coming from the desk. It's like, how are they going to actively be able to respond to this aggression by LGD? And this complete alteration in the composition is giving them even more of a headache, that they don't know how to respond to it, and just giving more insult to injury here.
It's so disgusting, Brigade. But more to your point there, Rich, the Volumel said something on the desk which made me laugh, which was, anything you can do, we can do better. And that's exactly what they did. But the funniest thing is they go, hey, you see this comp, guys? It's really, really good when we use it on the high ground. Yeah, you should use it too. And then we'll counter it with our own comp that we came up to counter our comp. It's mind-boggling. It's so fun to see.
It really is. And again, now we are going to go just to a brief break before we go into the fourth match between LGD and our Restart. So we will be back in just a moment here with you for the next match.
Don't you know, I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire. I'm not an angel, I'm not a saint. I've been a closed book full of mistakes. But when you're broken, when you're in pain, I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire. I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire with you. You're not alone, I'm by your side. Don't you know, I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire. I'm not an angel, I'm not a saint. I've been a closed book full of mistakes. But when you're broken, when you're in pain, I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire. I rock the fire with you. I rock the fire with you. I feel you on the edge of my life. Driving a perfect wedge straight into my mind. Come out from under all these indecisions. Oh, make room for somebody else. Circling the edge, way up high. Don't know if I'll ever have a useful alibi. Gone too far to stop. Yeah, I try. Flying, crashing, looking for a perfect suicide. Circling the drinking and smoking yourself. Don't even wanna try. Make room for somebody else. Oh, I just wanna hide out from under all these indecisions. Oh, make room for somebody else. Circling the edge, way up high. Don't know if I'll ever have a useful alibi. Gone too far to stop. Yeah, I try. Flying, crashing, looking for a perfect suicide. Circling the edge.
Hello and welcome back as we are getting into this fourth match, which is going to be an escort here between LGD and Restart. We've already seen LGD be able to dominate here on these first 3 maps, and with, you know, the escort map being the last one between Dorado and Route 66, you know, Blank, what do you think we're going to see coming into this? What would Restart need to do here to select one of these maps to make them in a good position in their 4th and final match? But also, in addition, just to kind of touch on this, it's a 2-part question. How do you think they're going to reply to Rika, like, on that Doomfist? Like, just that gameplay and aggression was amazing coming out on Horizon Lunar Colony.
I think it's definitely a 2-part question there, because you come onto a score, you've got many different maps. You got Rialto, you got Route 66. Let's see, and I mean, the main thing for me is you got to pick a map where you don't think that Doomfist is going to succeed so much. In particular, you've got Rika on maps like Rialto. He can just absolutely excel there because there are so many tight corners that he can use and make sure that the rocket punch gets such high value. But this guy has been playing insanely well. He's been playing like an absolute madman. You saw him Horizon Lunar Colony basically dominate the entire map. But I think this he's crushing. He is crushing, and I think this kind of comes from like maybe his history a little, because he used to be on Miracle Team 1, who is now rebranded to T1W, but he had to play with players such as Crystal, Molan Ran, all standout players from last season. You saw Crystal in Overwatch World Cup, so everyone was vying to be the top DPS player on that team. Now he's playing as that sole standout. We've not seen Shy as of yet. We don't know if he's still on the team. So he's getting to stand out in a big way, and you can see he's loving the spotlight, right?
Oh, he really is, and he's demonstrating his extreme gameplay and is doing an amazing job of it to fill shoes for that, since again we do not really know the status as of now for Shy in this. And you know, it looks like they're going to go in and opt to do Route 66 for this escort map, so you know it's going to be interesting to see how they want to play it here.
And I think Route 66 is another map where you can play a Doomfist. Teams tend to play like a Sombra Genji, very straight up dive to try and get to the high ground, because a lot of people are holding on big L's. But I think that really here, Restart might have had a much better time on something like Dorado, which was the other pick that they could have had here, where hit scans become much more the name of the game, especially on point B, where a Widowmaker can pretty much dominate the entirety of that section. But instead, Restart are gonna he's just swinging. He's just swinging.
Just having a moment. Just having a moment to himself.
Yeah, he is. I mean, but on this map, it's completely different. I don't know what they're going to play. It looks like they are going to be going for this modes composition once again with the Winston involved, so high pressure. So you can imagine LGD are going to be holding very aggressively. Whereas Restart, we're going back to old school here, Rich. We're pulling out the Bastion.
Oh, goodness me. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they do want to stick on that and utilize that pirate ship mechanic here, as the few seconds do remain, and they are going to go out with it. They will take that Orisa on the front to give some shielding, but on an early pick by Secret! Oh, goodness!
Look, he's just sad. He just laid sadly on the ground. How could you do this to me, brother? And LGD, like I was saying, going to go forward, almost immediately take advantage of this. Cloud on the Bastion could be really putting a thorn on their side at the moment, but instead he goes back to spawn. Just waiting out for the time being. Goes over to the far instead.
And that's a really great pick here. Again, you're going to have to force that D.Va to really cause a lot of pressure onto that high ground. They don't have the hit scan available to them, and seeing if they can just try and get some momentum on this payload here.
Cloud actually switches back over to the Doomfist. And this seems to be a very much a trend coming up from Restart so far, as they're not sure what to pull out versus LGD. They've tried a lot so far and tried and failed. Maybe this can be the first victory for them. You see Tanchio go in, gets a massive amount of healing, keeps him nice and healthy for the time being.
And they're in a really good spot, LGD, on the defensive position. They have that Transcendence coming up very soon, since they've already generated an early 20%, getting a lot of pressure as well with that Tesla cannon by Winston on the front. But not just out of it yet. Cloud managing to get one here onto Secret, taking out that support. Not going to have it. No Transcendence available, as they're now going to have that stagger. It will be 6 versus 5 in favor of Restart, starting to turn the corner and looking to try and still maintain that high ground, utilizing that D.Va play by MMD to contest against it and slowly forcing them back. LGD not wanting to get overextended here and looking to try and regroup and just get their health values back online with that rally.
Rookie actually keeps his mech here, and that's what they absolutely do need. Cloud just not finding as much value as you see Rika does. Transcendence is out now. Sound Barrier still available, but the Diva Bomb finds Fungman.
And now they're going to try and get some pressure here with that sound barrier coming out on the side of Restart, using it by 1-1Q. And the damage is going to come out, though, by Rika here with that high-level energy, looking to press back with a nice group kill here. Double kill coming out by Rika on that Zarya, pushing forward and just really halting all the momentum that Restart started to generate there. They were in such a great position at the start of that push.
This was such a good disengage as well. As Nodess mentioned it, Only Wish has got a very strong Lucio. You've got to watch out for him. He's going to get his team into position at all times. And Cloud just not able to hit any of the seismic slams so far because LGD Games frontline just slip out the way, using that speed to their advantage.
Rika now trying to generate that Graviton here for another engage, also having the Primal Rage soon to be forced. It will be unleashed, though, by ones for Restart, trying to get some harass in the back, but going to be immediately forced back. Graviton now coming out on the front by Rika, getting a massive pull together with the boop, gaining 2 support kills as they once again force them back with 1 minute and 15 seconds now. They're going to have only potentially 2 ultimates going into this, the Transcendence and the Self-Destruct.
You don't need any environmental hazards when you just boot them straight to hell. Now Restart, they'll be coming back into this one with a Diva Bomb and a Transcendence. So MD actually switched up to Zarya, so they won't have that anymore. Wants to opt for a little bit more protection for his front line. And they got the McCree and the Doomfist. Now back over to the Brigida. Restart are very confused what they want to do here. So, yeah.
And it's like what the desk was saying. It's like they cannot manage to come together to make a solid decision. The Primal Rage going to be forced out in the back. They try and get a lot of CC. Cloud looking to get the kill. Finally coming out by B612, gaining that kill, but getting an even exchange now. You do see Eternal taking that pick. Meteor Strike high overhead, hoping to net some value out of it, but really not gaining anything with the Transcendence available by Secret. Getting onto the high ground. Cloud looking to maybe take it out. Sound Barrier as well. Going to be dropped for the team of Restart to try and gain this last opportunity momentum with 15 seconds to go. Massive charge as well coming out by MMD to give some pressure on the front, and they managed to start turning it into their favor. They're being very careful, though, on this aggression. They do not want to become overzealous on this payload push because they want to reach this checkpoint to net a few more minutes for them to try and continue the pressure.
I don't think LGD Gaming are going to have too much of a recontest. Tenchio tries to go, and he's still alive. Nice bubble onto him, keeps him alive a bit longer, and now the rally is going to be that last bastion of hope. Fengyan will have one of his own as he drops it now. Eternal taking a lot of damage.
And that's going to be just under 5 meters still remaining, but Restart holding strong right now. Graviton going to try and pull them together on the side of LGD, trying to hopefully gain some value out of it, and MMD managing to get the follow-up, taking out 2 supports here, just under 3 meters as they are nearing it in the overtime, but they have to be extremely careful not to maneuver too far away from this payload. If they manage to move too far, it will be an instant overtime run out of time, and it will be a full stop here by LGD before they even reach it. Still getting those late picks. MMD managing to get a double kill. That's a great pressure from the Zarya player on the front by, but they almost got off of it. That's what we were talking about. Just under 3 meters still to go. The Transcendence now going to be forced out as LGD looks to keep this going. Last match with the Sound Barrier now going to be unleashed as well. Continuing to apply pressure. MMD doing everything possible on this front line. Graviton to try and lock them down against it so that they can keep in this push. It will be now just under 1 meter. Half of a meter to go as overtime literally still goes on. Finally getting it and reaching this checkpoint now at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And they are fighting for their lives right now in this last match.
Restart really struggled there. They were in some tough situations. The major kill was Cloud onto Rika there. Rika was such high charge, and if he stayed up for any longer, that could have gone very poorly. But it's incredible to see the projected barrier usage because Rookie was out of mech, yet projected barrier onto him to body block for Rika a little bit longer before he goes down. It's just some interesting usage of abilities, and I love to see it.
Now we're going to have ones on the front, making sure to have that Earth Shatter ready to find a valuable encounter with it. Nice Fire Strike on the high ground to get some damage as you do still keep this momentum. 1 minute and 45 seconds still to go. They have some time reaching that halfway point here, generating some ultimates. This rally now is going to give them a buffer. Still continuing to maintain the high ground though. LGD doing a great job trying to fall back, make sure to regroup, looking to potentially get that Graviton here before this encounter to combine it with the Diva ultimate.
Yeah, he's looking for it, but he knows he can't drop down because there is a Shatter available. Tanchio makes a switch over to the Reinhardt now. Shatter down, finds pretty much everyone.
and they are able to follow up onto a Cloud now with the Doomfist using that Meteor Strike in a very short amount of time, but still going to hold on to it, doing a great job being reserved on it. I thought they might have followed up with it, but they are in a good position. This is what we want to see from Restart, the momentum and control that they have finally needed coming into this map of Route 66.
I mean, they've only switched the heroes about 7 times, so at some point, you've got to strike gold, right? LGD though, I think Tanchio has overextended a lot of times so far, and he's not respecting this Doomfist. He's not respecting the Discord orb, which can just completely shut him down. Out comes the grab.
And the self-destruct tries to claim it, but just gets tucked behind the payload, not netting any value out of it, as they do get a nice boop kill here onto Eternal, taking out that Brigitte, seeing if they can try and keep close to this as they have just under 2 minutes to go. Still giving a lot of protection on the front, as Cloud's gonna look for that background position, trying to see if they can get a flank with the Transcendence forced on the front. Nice knockdown here on it to ones, but not gonna be able to do too much more. Still getting the stagger, Graviton available now. Can they manage to get these staggered picks and not allow the respawn advantage to go in favor of LGD? Hopefully going to have that Earth Shatter coming up, though, by Tangui on that defensive side of LGD as they're looking to pick them off. A massive amount of energy coming out by MMD as well. They have the grab. Are they going to use it on that left-hand side as they're looking to come out? Manages to do so, pulling them together with the follow-up. Just meters left to go. Under 2. Just actually over correction as they are nearing this point, seeing if they can continue to maintain this pick, finally reaching the end of it and completing the map on Route 66. Well done by Restart.
Yeah, Restart finally a little bit of momentum on their side. It's nice to see here, because so far a lot of the tempo has been dictated by LGD, and now Restart makes some good switches off. They go over to the Reinhardt, they go over to the Brigitte, and they've got the Doomfist on side. And I think those 3 are the most important heroes on this composition, because it makes it so very difficult for Tanchio to find any value when he makes the dive in, whereas before Tanchio could drop in, have an orb of harmony on top of him, get an armor pack from Eternal, and he would pretty much be nice and safe. Now there's so much damage coming out from the rocket punch. There's also the shield bash there, as well as a Reinhardt swinging into you. You're not going to live for very long. He made the same mistake twice, and I think things just snowballed from there. And Restart, they had some good discipline on their side, which kept them in this game for a very long time. A little bit dropping the ball on point A, as they were able to stall for so long there, and it could have looked really bad if Rika did survive as Tanchio came back in. But Restart, they're looking to take this game back.
And I have to say too, of course we were saying, that Restart has had a difficult time trying to, assess what they need to switch to, what is going to benefit them most against this composition. But when it comes to like that high octane moment, especially towards the end there, I have to feel that they pull together very well. Like when they're under pressure in moments like that, you see an acceleration in their gameplay. I think that really truly benefits them in moments like that.
It does, and what they need to do there was accelerate their gameplay. So far, LGD Gaming had basically setting the pace every single fight, and Restart reacting to them. Now that LGD have had to be on the back foot, they're really seeming to struggle.
Rika now trying to get some early vision here. You do see Restart on that high ground position of the gas station, making sure that they get some early pick damage in the back, waiting for that payload to come a little closer to drop down as they now start to transition, seeing if they can find an early pick in the back. Not able to gain too much. One's getting so low on the front, almost getting the pick, but they do start to follow up. LGD finally starting to knock down the dominoes, getting the triple all over onto Restart as they fall one after another. Rika just killing it right now and knowing it with that camera turn as they just get a nice staggered last minute bash here with Eternal, and just gonna probably just slowly move quickly to this next checkpoint here with no real contest.
He knows all eyes are on him. I think the drop was a little bit ambitious. They dropped down very early there, wasn't able to use the payload to their advantage in the end. Now they're going to be looking for a contest of their own. The charge gets a little bit scuffed. They punish it.
Rapidly, they all immediately focused it in the middle as they were managing to follow up, now committing the Earth Shatter. I feel that they really didn't need to use that, but they wanted to secure the checkpoint. They already had the numbers taken out, so it was a 6v4 before the Earth Shatter came out. They were optimizing on that payload, reaching the next checkpoint here, and they probably could have kept that, but at this point they're still sitting pretty with 4 ultimates going into this by LGD.
I would say that the Earth Shatter actually was pretty good there, because what they really didn't want to see was another case of what they had on point A, which was a really long stall And for Restart with a team composition that heavily relies on ultimate, having a clean fight like that for LGD puts them in good stead when it comes to ult economy, as you see them completely lapping them a lot of times. Graviton is available and is most likely be used here to get rid of a lot of the support ultimates on Restart.
Now gonna have that self-destruct, trying to get the shield up in time to protect against it, but manages to get MMD, able to get that tank out of the fight early. Still having the sound barrier on the side of Restart. One's gonna go down as well. This is just, again, that snowball factor, using Eternal to continue to harass that Lucio in the back line, not allowing 1-1Q to get any real assistance for this team as they are just split off once again. There's the late stagger onto Cloud, and they're gonna have to wait for that regroup.
MD will have the grab coming to the next fight, so LGD, it's going to have to be a very aggressive Earthshatter. They're going to have to make some plays here should they want to hold on to this one, because a Restart, I really do think they have all the tools to make a hold here. Eternal doesn't have the rally, so they don't have that infinite sustain on point, right? And Rick is nowhere near to his grab as of yet.
And they are going to try and reach this point, now maneuvering out from the left-hand side on the defensive position, using that sound barrier to initiate, getting that extra protection, trying to find an opportunity to get a pin in the back, but it will be an even exchange, though. Trying to get knocked down. Transcendence is going to be forced as well by Secret, keeping some pressure on the front. Now the Earthshatter looking to see if they can land a few, getting the self-destruct dropped out after the damage is too sufficient, with a Graviton as well coming out by MMD on Restart. Now getting the follow-up, LGD in a great position here to isolate the rest of Restart after those early picks with the Graviton coming out by Rika, that they are just now maneuvering forward, reaching this checkpoint cleanly with that fight, and still kept not only the rally, but the self-destruct as well by Rookie.
They've retained a lot of things, and one thing you'll see on Restart is that they don't have an Earthshatter and they don't have a grab now. And I think it was so crucial that Tanchio chose to Earthshatter ones, because he couldn't have swung into that grab afterwards. So even if they did lose that fight, they would have got little value by getting Earthshatter for the next one. In this case, they don't find either. Now Rika can drop in with 100 charge, try and find a lot towards his next Graviton. They do force the trance out.
And they also use this self-destruct on the side of LGD, trying to see if they can zone them away in the back. Even exchange once again, gonna get a tank for a support here, but now it still starts to go in favor of LGD, getting those picks here onto MMD and Wands, as they're gonna just get this ultimate economy back up. They're gonna have that Earthshatter along with two support ultimates, both tank ultimates, and they're in a good position here to pressure the remaining portion of this map.
And pressure is the key word, right, Rich? And that's what they've been doing this entire time. LGD been pressuring Restart with the dominant ultimate control, and we see Rika on a secret mission on the left side of the map looking for a big Graviton. I don't think Restart suspecting it. Might even completely circumvent Cloud's Diva Matrix.
And that's gonna be 4 members pulled together. The self-destruct trying to get some zonage out of it, since they get the quick amount of damage onto them. Not gonna be able to gain anything out of it with that quick shield coming up by that Reinhardt player of LGD, managing to just cleanly press those last few meters smoothly with no real contest. And that switch onto the Wrecking Ball, not gonna do anything for them to keep it into overtime.
And the bowling ball couldn't even find its way towards the pins at the end of that. We will get to 2 minutes on top of Restart. So what turned out to look pretty nice for Restart is looking kind of desperate now. You got 1 minute on the clock for them to try and take as much of point A as possible. And if LGD can make a defense like they made the first time, they did hold them for a very long time on top of Big Earls.
It really is going to be interesting. You know, with, as you said, that was the hardest part of the whole fight. Once they started to get through that gateway, it allowed them to maintain their momentum through the rest of the fight. So going into this, I'm wondering how they're going to play it. If they'll just want to stick to something, you know, similar to it, try and get as much value out of it, since they've already done it. They know that it worked, at least, even though it was a rough push. I think they might still stick to it. And again, they're going to look at it as like, well, what do we really want to, you know, shake it up right now with a minute and just under 20 seconds to go? I don't think they'll want to take that risk.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of times in these matches, in these maps, they've struggled to find something that works. But one thing that I will highlight is Tanchio. After he goes down 2 times in the first defense that he had, he understands he has to make the switch over to the Reinhardt. Now he has to play a little bit more passive, be a bit more protective of his team. That's exactly what he's done. And being able to switch up the playstyle on the fly like this is really important for a team when you're responding to team comps, to try and sway the momentum of a match. MD taking the high ground for the time being. Rookie is there to try and hold him off for the time being, but a really nice boop into bad territories.
And that's going to be a lot of pressure, forcing MMD back, not wanting to have the positioning that he needed here, as they do get a nice pressure here onto Cloud, getting that Doomfist out of the fight. And this is where it's going to be, you know, difficult for them. They're now going to get another stagger here onto One's Rookie, getting the pick here with that Diva Micro Rocket, doing so much here to them that they're going to have to try and just fall back and regroup, and most likely only going to have this one opportunity, as now you see Tainchio getting that Earth Shatter very shortly.
And so far, Zevshare has been pretty effective. So Restart, they've got to be really careful here. One's going to have to keep up the shield, but Rookie is providing so much pressure on this high ground the time being. Now it's online. We'll be looking for Eternal to get that bash through. There it is!
And able to land 3 underneath the payload as well, managing to turn this back around. 15 seconds to go. They've already managed to completely force Restart back. They did have B612 with the Transcendence coming up just late to give the assistance for the team through that Earth Shatter, and that's going to just now be that last-minute Wrecking Ball switch here, trying to keep it into overtime, hoping to buy enough time for them to get back into this Graviton on the front, though, by Rika, again, keeping them away from this payload as long as possible, and the rally's going to come out by Eternal, still managing to keep it into overtime. Transcendence and Graviton going to be turned, but they don't have the damage to follow it up. On the high ground now, having the self-destruct again for a zone, and getting a double! Insult to injury, as we said before, as they are going to manage to keep it back. Still into the overtime, looking to try and just press those last few members of Restart, and they will be able to do it and prevent them from just getting under that bridgeway.
They barely got around the corner. And one thing to be really impressed by here, Rich, is Only Wish on this Lucio. The boops have been so insanely strong.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Seriously, putting Restart into positions that they really don't want to be in. They move the Reinhardt over to the side, opens up for the charge, puts Fengyan into the entirety of the enemy team off the top side. It's another thing to be constantly aware of from LGD that Restart have to keep in the back of their mind. And this is what LGD, they keep stacking things on top of each other, and Restart are like, oh my god, there's too many things to think about, there's too many decisions to be made during this fight, and that's when you see them start to crumble.
And again, like you said, the crumbling began so early because of that greatly timed boop. I mean, when you already are having, let's say, a difficult time going against a team like LGD, where they're throwing you curveballs, they're making you have to really constantly be on your feet, when you're now going to get repositioned just behind the wall from that high ground position, out in the open, you were lucky enough to have your shield, but now you've lost it. You've had to just use it as a defensive early on to not really use it to maybe generate that charge, knowing when the incoming damage was, to really start pressuring back, especially with that short amount of time they have. And now LGD's has got just under 3 minutes and 10 seconds to really push this payload a very short amount of distance.
And LGD, they've got so much fun on these competitions. You can see them having fun. Only Wish no longer having to be a bit of a mercy bot from last season, always complimenting the Zenyatta. Now he can play things like the Lucio. So I'm interested to see what the other old-time supports can be playing coming into this season. It really does bode well for a nice and exciting meta for supports. Tainchio, come on!
Oh, and he's going to switch onto that Reinhardt versus the Winston, and now you're going to get a lot of harass, though, by the May play, by Restart, looking to see if they can get the pressure. Payload just about to get there. There is the snowball, as they get a nice wall to, unfortunately, help the team of LGD, as they are going to claim victory on Route 66.
The snipe from Tainchio was
huge,
disgusting. Yeah,
huge.
He literally roasted the enemy team there in that moment,
really?
And they were like, "Well, I guess we lose. You lose your Brigida, right? And as a Reinhardt, then you can just start to pop off. And we even saw the projector barrier save him as he got charged away. And in fact, actually, once just put him into a better position to start swinging into Restart. So what turned into an unfavorable situation is made into a favorable one. And I think that's the story of this entirety of this game coming up from LGD. They're very good at swinging these games back on you, swinging these team fights back on you, where you think you might have won. LGD says, no, here's another curveball. And that's what we've been saying all game, Rich, right? Is that they've just been throwing these downwind the entire time. And Restart, they've been unable to catch.
Agreed. And especially further, I mean, when it came to that last pressure coming out by LGD, they had 3 minutes and just under 20 seconds. They had a lot of time. You saw Wands come out on the Winston. They got some, intel on what the composition was. They peeked out quickly enough just so they can see, all right, we've got the time to use. We've got a short amount of distance. Let's go ahead and really, keep our composure here. We don't have to risk anything. We're going to take the time to evaluate it, knowing that the Reinhardt was a better pick instead of the Winston. getting into the back line, having that harass coming out by the Mei as well to evaluate it effectively. And that's what I mean. You see the confidence coming out by LGD and just allowing them to truly demonstrate their playability right now.
Yeah, they look really good. They look really good. We weren't sure what we were going to see out of them. Whether they're going to be a completely different team, whether they're going to be a demoralized team by getting members removed from them. But instead, it looks like they've come into their own. They've got this new identity. It's very aggressive. There's a lot of pressure coming out of it. They move towards the payload. They find the pickoffs and they find them well. Only Wish, like I was saying, he's able to play new different things. It's lovely to see from a team like LGD. Like I said, though, we can't put down Restart too much. They have had some bright moments. They just need to turn on the light switch a little bit more. There have been moments where it's looked quite dull, where things haven't worked so much in their favor. But we saw Route 66, Point B, momentum really got going in their favor, and they started to show up. So very, very, very much good for them. I'm excited to see what Restart can do through the season. They start to gel more.
And again, you know, as it was said, you know, there's so much, especially on the weight of the shoulders of LGD with their tank composition. And as the desk even said, we'll turn it right back over to them now that we're going to have all 4 of these maps completed and, you know, get their overall perspective of some of the details that they talked about at the start of this match going into it.
Guys, it was a pretty quick series, let's be honest, but the first thing I want to talk about is this must have been a massive confidence boost for LGD after having lost some of their best players. What do we think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, nothing feels better than 4-0ing a team with brand new tank line, Eternal back in the lineup. I mean, we haven't seen Shy, so the question of like where Shy on this team is still up in the air, but I'm very happy that, you know, Rika and Eternal were able to bring out this result because like we did say, you know, it wasn't that Restart doesn't have the potential to snowball the lead, as we did see from B onto C onto on Route 66. They have this potential to snowball. I think they're very mechanically, they have an idea once they're ahead in the game, they are able to win these fights. I think it's about regaining the confidence and coming back to that. My biggest thing I love seeing was that first point stall. That was a great ability to continue to stall the point, shuffle, and make sure that everyone's touching the point. They can't move it and buy a lot of time off the clock. That's something I really like seeing because that speaks more to the discipline of the team and their understanding of how they want to play this game as opposed to just mechanically outwinning the team.
Well, you speak a lot about, you know, the discipline, you have all this going on, but we also saw really kind of exciting and flavorsome things come out from particularly LGD. Namely, they used this triple DPS comp on Horizon Lunar Colony. Can we break down how this went for them? Because it's not really the sort of most orthodox composition that you would see come out from a team.
Well, it's something we tended to see used a little bit more often early on in the first season of Overwatch, where, you know, for instance, right, if you remember back with the LA Gladiators, or actually the LA Valiant, running up against a team like Seoul, for instance, this probably happened, maybe, I don't know. Soon's the type of tracer player who tends to love to play the objective in this very cheeky and kind of almost playful way, where you can always, in the back of your mind, will always kind of remember that he'll be threatening you without really dealing damage. He's always trying to push the cart if you're not paying attention. He's always threatening to cap a tick if you're not, keeping an eye on him or sending resources to deal with him, or the ample resources to deal with him. And that was the kind of strategy that they revolved around, with bringing down that high ground strategy to them and forcing them to fight on the point. And that's the biggest idea with this Orisa, Junkrat kind of centric strategy, is that they're going to sit on the high ground as long as they can, look for kind of these juggle picks with the concussion mine, look for, some halt kills. And, they don't really want to fight on the point, whether it's goats on the point, whether it's a strange triple DPS that has a lot of mobility. They're really focused on holding the high ground.
Yeah, and go ahead. Yeah, I want to flesh out that the triple DPS point, because we talk about mobility. That's actually, I think, a large portion of why Chinese teams really like it. Because if we look kind of at Secret on that tracer, he wasn't exactly with the rest of the team. He was kind of going into the underground, into the backline, seeking out that mercy and looking to get a pick very early on in the fight. And that's the goal of these triple DPS composition. They know that, hey, if we can get one pick with our mobility, we can snowball this fight. We can win 6v5, and all of a sudden, these ultimates start building up for the next point, and that's so important on Assault.
You're really not looking at specifically all-inning like a target. You're just kind of picking at them. You're just throwing quick jabs. If it happens to catch them with a nice clean body shot, for instance, you're using a kind of a boxing analogy, then you can really kind of explode on them. But it's really not a focused pick. Like Scribe said, he's kind of poking at the Mercy, forcing her to reposition constantly. She doesn't get to like play where she would like to be, so she's always forced to bounce around with DPS coming in from all sides. So it was really fun to see LGD come out with a lot of adaptability, because I was a little bit worried.
I think fun is a key word there, and you speak very fondly over some compositional picks that they chose. But when Restart tried to make some of their own, we saw a Reaper come out on Horizon Lunar Colony, we saw Bastion come out on their attack on Route 66. Those weren't met so fondly by you two. Why was this?
I think one reason why is because a lot of these picks tend to be more reactionary rather than having a good, proper idea of what to use. Like, even that Bastion pick, like, yeah, Bastion's a great composition, like, in terms of you understand, like, hey, we're going to have troubles coming out of the spawn, and we need to play around it, but they didn't offer a lot of protection. Their Zenyatta got immediately picked out of the fight, and from there, one support down, it doesn't give you a lot of healing for Bastion. All of a sudden, you don't get Bastion onto the card, you don't feel comfortable playing it, and we see Cloud rotate off of it immediately. Same thing with Reaper on for Fung, right? It's a lot of the stuff where it says, yeah, this will work, this will shred through the tanks, but they're not thinking about how do we deal with high ground on Horizon, right? How do we deal with all the CC that can definitely cancel out the Reaper moving in? I think a lot of the stuff they need to plan out a lot more.
Was specifically talking about that May pick, I was kind of questioning the Reinhardt rotate off for LG, because I think in that specific game state, right, where the golden box of victory is right underneath that first turn on Route 66, you know exactly where the defense is going to play. Once you kind of scout that May, it's like, okay, well, they're probably just looking for a Reinhardt pick. They're looking to wall us off. So you're kind of forfeiting so much ground to your Winston. You can run through the underground and immediately take a kind of flanking position, and you just give up so much space to kind of get encompassed and collapsed in on. So I understand the thought process. I just it's not there for me just yet.
Well, the starting gun has been fired on Season 3, and LGD so far have really set the precedent for what teams need to be looking at going forward and how to get that top spot. But for now, we are going to throw to a quick Season 2 recap in case you missed any of last season, so you know what to be looking for. And we will be back very shortly for our next game of the day.